what's the battery type on the MG4, how to maintain the battery, what's the best way to charge it. In this video, I'll show you all you need to know about the MG4's battery and charging information. If you would like to know about the MG4 charging instructions, check my tutorial video down below, I'll leave a link. But in this video, I'll show you the general information about battery maintenance, battery health, things like that. Hey guys, this is Jerry, welcome to the channel. If you don't know me, I'm an MG salesperson in Auckland, New Zealand. This is my YouTube channel about some information, product, whatever. And this video will have all the timestamps down below for you to skip forward if you wish to. After that, do not forget to subscribe and like, that will be really helpful for the channel to grow. First question about the video is the battery type on the MG4 electric vehicle. All the MG4 electric vehicles, the 51 kWh battery is LFP pack. And then if you're looking for anything else, 64 kWh, 77 kWh, and the X-Power, which come with the same 64 kWh, those battery pack will be NMC pack. You can search all the information between the advantage and disadvantage on the LFP and NMC in a very simple way to explain to beginners. The advantage of LFP, it's slightly safer, slightly less degradation, has a slightly better longevity over the time period compared to the NMC. But the disadvantage, the major one, is the density of the battery. Plus, some may argue about the charging speed on the battery as well. If you're looking for a car and if you're looking just to own the vehicle only between 3 to 5 years, typically you don't need to worry about this. If you're not clocking over 200, 300 Ks in 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, you don't need to worry too much about these battery types. You're just gonna drive at home, charge at home, things like that. So you don't need to technically be super fast about these batteries, so to speak. In terms of safety, although the LFP battery theoretically is safer, both are under the same chassis, same modular scalable platform on the MG4 range. That means they have the zero thermal runaway, they have the active liquid cooling system. They are going to be very, very safe. It's going to be very, very hard for you to initially catch a fire on the battery itself. If anything else did catch fire, unfortunately, your car will catch a fire. There's nothing to stop that. But it's going to be hard to catch a fire on the battery itself, no matter which battery you are looking into. This is the most common class question about the MG4 battery charging. Should I charge to 80% or should I charge to 100%? There are different answers from everywhere you can see. So today I'm just giving you a summary on this information. First thing, you have to differentiate the battery. If you're looking for the LFP battery, which is available on the 51 kWh variant, that means you can charge to 100% in pretty much every scenario. Whereas if you have the NMC battery pack, which is on the 64 kWh and the 77 kWh variant, you may want to do 80% if you do regular drive or regular charging every single day. So for LFP, if you're doing home charging, if you're doing fast charging, it's totally fine to go 100%. But if you're doing fast charging, I wouldn't recommend it to do 100% every single time, as the charging speed will drop a lot after 80%. That means you have to wait for a lot longer time to charge from 80 to 100%, even than charging from, let's say, 20% to 80%. So go 80% if you're at a public charging station, as that's where you can utilize all the charging speed. Anyway, go back to the NMC. For regular charging, if you're going to charge the vehicle every day, you want to keep the battery capacity at as high as possible so that you can drive the next day or the next 2 days or next 3 days. Do it 80%, it's totally fine. You got the charging to percentage, which you can check my tutorial down below. Just select the bars to 80%, you'll be fine. But there are also some other scenarios you can totally charge the vehicle to 100%, which have no problem at all, no issue at all. You shouldn't be stressed about charging to 100% if you need to. Scenario one is you're going to a long trip, you're going away on the weekends, you are going to need that 400k or 500k range tomorrow or the next day. You can totally go up to 100%. There's no problem at all. Do not stress about degradation if you are going to charge the vehicle 100%. It does not necessarily mean is if you charge the vehicle at 100% today, your battery degradation will have a 0.1% or anything like that. It's not going to happen like that. It only happens in very, very long run, in very, very many charging cycles. So you are going to be totally fine. Second scenario is if you're going to do regular driving every day. Let's say my commute is 200 km every day. I do want that 100% to give me the most confidence when I drive the vehicle, or in case I mischarge the vehicle tonight, I want that have charging. So in that case, you're totally fine to go 100% as well. Again, it's not going to harm the battery. As long as you keep driving the car next morning or as soon as you after finish charging, you are going to utilize the charging. It's not going to stay at 100% all the time. That basically means if you're going to leave the battery for a very long time, try not to leave it at 100% on the NMC battery pack. The battery itself does not like to be left at 100% all the time. If you're going to drive the car every twice a week, do 80% or do a little bit less than 100%. Do not go all the way to 100% every single day. That's basically the quick recommendation. If you're going to fast charging stations on DC charging on the NMC battery pack, again, recommend it to do at 80%. Your charging speed between 80 to 100% will be much, much lower than what it is between 20 to 80%. You will be wasting a lot of time at public charging stations if you left it at 80 to 100%. Yep, that's this one about the battery charging. Another question I get asked is, what can I just leave the charging overnight, things like that? Even if the charging can be done just literally in 3 or 4 hours. The quick answer is yes, totally fine. It's different from the phone battery. So if we charge our phone, the phone stays at 100%, but it's still showing it's charging, it's still taking charge for some reason. On charging the EV, once you reach to 100%, once it's fully balanced out the 100% AC charge, the power will cut off. That means it will consume no more electricity at all on your power outlet, whatever you want to call it. So that means if tonight you're going to leave the charger on for 10 hours, but the vehicle has finished the charging at 5 hours, that means 5 hours off. That's it. It's only going to stay on for 5 hours. After that, no connection, no nothing basically. And it consumes little to zero electricity for yourself. Next, this is the very common question as well. If I'm going to go on holiday, what should I do for the battery? Should I do anything specifically or anything like that? No and yes, to be fair. No, you don't have to do anything specifically, but yes, maybe, depends on how long you are going to go away. The vehicle does still come with a 12-volt battery system, which means just like your petrol or diesel vehicle, ICE vehicle, whatever you want to call it, it still have a jumper start or jumper motor. That means if you're going to leave the vehicle for quite long, your jumper motor or jump start could go flat, your 12 battery. In that case, if you're going to leave the vehicle, I'm gonna say more than 6 weeks or 8 to 8 weeks, you probably want to try to disconnect your 12 battery, which is literally in front of the bonnet. You probably need to use let's say a 10mm spanner, whatever you want to use, to disconnect it. That's it. You don't need to worry about it. But if you're leaving less than that time frame and your vehicle has been recently regularly driven over the last, let's say, days or weeks, you do not need to do anything with it. Just make sure you lock the vehicle, do not leave the lights on, things like that. You should be safe. Second thing is about your high voltage battery. This is the main battery, the 51 kilowatts, 64 or 77 kilowatt hour battery. If you're going to leaving for long trips, and the battery itself, the state of charge, will actually lose a little bit over the time. I haven't really tested, no one has really tested or let me know what's the result, but I'm gonna assume within 1 to 2 months, it's not going to drop more than 5% or more than 10%. The state of health or state of charge, should be state of charge, it's going to be very minimum dropping. And that comes out to be, you don't need to specifically worried about state of charge being dropped to 0 as long as the vehicle has enough charge. But with that saying, do not leave your vehicle at the low charge if you're going long trips. A lot of the online recommendations, this is based on those theories or research, whatever you want to call it, not based on my experience. it's recommended to leave the vehicle charge between somewhere around 50 to 80 or 50 to 90% if you're leaving the vehicle for a very long time, so that you do not get to drop to zero, and at the same time the battery charge are still going to be there. Next question, I think a lot of you will know the answer. And what happens if the battery drops to zero? So yeah, before it drops to zero, it's going to give you all the warning. It's going to kick in the turtle mode, so go into the most eco drive mode, so save as much as energy as it can. But eventually, if you run out of luck, it did drop to zero, your car will obviously all the way slow down and shut down itself. Just like a petrol car, if it runs out of petrol, it's not going to be moved at all with the vehicle itself. The good news is, if you're living in New Zealand, I'm not sure about Australia, so you do want to ask your dealer. In case you live in New Zealand, you still get the roadside assistance on your MG4, and then you eventually run out of juice on your vehicle. You are actually covered by the MG roadside assistance team, so you just need to give them a call, and then they can help you to tow you to the nearest charging station. Yourself has to cover the charging fees, of course, but the roadside assistance will cover your towing. So that's really, really handy. I don't know if any other manufacturers do this, to be fair, but I actually love this particular policy. Next is equalization about the battery or about the charging. So let's say you are doing a lot of fast charging on these vehicles, and then the vehicle eventually tells you, I need to do slow charge. Or eventually the vehicle will not give you the right 100% kilometers or whatever, I can't remember exactly. So that means it's not taking it to full charge, it's leaving a small balance for you to do AC charging. For any batteries, if you're not going to do fully charge every day on your AC charging, which is your home charging or slow charging, it's recommended to charge the vehicle battery to 100% at least once a month. On the AC charging, by the way, it doesn't matter if it's the granny charger at the back or your 7 kilowatts or 11 kilowatts AC charging, it's recommended to do a full charge each month. Next is, how much does it cost to charge any of these vehicles? It's fairly simple. If you look at the battery size, either 51 kilowatts hour, 64 kilowatts hour, or 77 kilowatts hour, that just means the battery capacity. That means, let's say you charge the vehicle from 0 to 100%, it will consume roughly around that amount of kilowatts hour electricity. Because you're going to lose some sort of electricity on the way of charging, the energy there's will be a loss of energy or whatever. So it's not going to be 100% that particular figure, but it's going to be around that figure. And all you need to do, just use that figure to times whatever you pay at your home for your electricity bill per kilowatts hour, basically. Let's say at some places in New Zealand, you pay about 20 cents. If you charge the 51 kilowatt hour battery, let's say you do 50% of the charge, let's assume 25 kilowatts hour, that means 25 times 0.2 is going to be $5. So that's how to calculate the charging cost. If you're going to a public charging station, the charging cost will vary a lot. Some public charging station will charge, let's say, 60 cents in New Zealand per kilowatt hour. Some will charge up to even $1.90 per kilowatt hour. Generally speaking, it's still going to be really, really cheap compared to petrol or diesel vehicles, no matter how much you do the charge, unless you go to a public charging station all the time, then that will change. Public charging stations tend to be much more expensive than charging at home. And next thing is the lifespan of the battery. A lot of people ask questions when they purchase the MG4. They will be like, do I need to replace the battery after 7 years? Because you guys offer 7-year warranty. The quick answer is absolutely no. It's going to be really, really hard for the battery to be worn out, first thing, because the degradation is not going to be that hard within the 7 years. Second thing, the battery, like safety and technologies, all that things, it's going to be very reliable because the battery components and the motor components are much, much simpler compared to a petrol or diesel motor. You don't get running oil, you don't get oil filter. There's no special maintenance that needs to be done for the motor or for the battery particular thing. It's all fully sealed. all the battery do is charge and discharge pretty much. So yeah, it's not going to be that easy to destroy the battery, so to speak. And if you're just simply driving the vehicle, it's going to be very, very hard for the battery to just give up on you in that case. And also the good news, in case the battery does give up on you, let's assume the battery just totally, not working at some point, things like that. The MG's battery system is quite good, so you don't replace the whole battery, generally speaking. You have different modules that's available on the MG sort of platform. That means if one of the modules is faulty, you will be able to fix that module or replace the module, so to speak. So there's no necessary, so it's not necessary to replace the whole battery if something goes wrong. So we've been selling MGs for nearly 4 years, including EVs for 3.5 years. We've never had to replace the battery in any way, or in any shape. So I guess that's good news for you. Another thing, the LFP battery pack tend to have a stronger lifespan compared to the NMC battery pack. And what MG told us is the LFP battery, the battery would probably last way longer than the body frame before the body frame gets destroyed by the condition or whatever. That means it's going to be really, really hard to run out the LFP battery or destroy the LFP battery just by normal driving. So yeah, that's a good thing about these things. NMC on the other side, it does not have a long lifespan compared to the LFP, but the lifespan is still really, really long. It's not like a diesel or petrol vehicle. The motor just keeps going, the batteries just keeps going. So again, there's no need to worry about that. If you're planning to own the vehicle for more than 20 years, this is something you need to worry about it. But at this stage, with the modern technology, I don't think you need to be stressed about that thing just yet. All right, pretty much the last question. Is it possible to swap the battery or upgrade the battery pack after a certain amount of time? So it is definitely possible. I would say in theory, it's 100% possible. This particular modular scalable platform is able to, take battery swap or upgrade to a battery swap technology in the future. But whether those battery swapping, stations like what NIO is doing is possible or not, we don't know, unfortunately. With that saying, in most cases, I would say in at least short-term cases, you shouldn't need to worry about battery swap or battery replacement, as mentioned on the last topic. Specifically, if you think about battery degradation within some years, again, you don't need to worry about it at this stage until you start using the vehicle for more than 8, 7 or 10 years. Depends on how the battery is like by the time you need to look into something like that. And the battery swapping is not going to be cheap based on today's cost, as the battery itself is still very expensive to purchase from a private point of view. Yeah, I wouldn't think you want to swap the battery or want to upgrade the battery at this stage. So with that saying, if you want something with 400 Ks, just buy the one with 400 Ks, for example the 64 kWh battery. Do not go for the 51 kWh if you don't think it will fit you in the future or near future. So yeah, that's pretty much all about this video. Thanks for watching. Part of me just want to explain why I'm doing these drive and talk videos, as I just couldn't find the time at work or during work or after work to do something like this. I just cannot sit there after 5:30 for another half an hour or even more than that to start doing a video like this before I head home. So the easiest way for me is to drive and talk, so I can explain everything to you while I'm in the car, since I'm taking about 40 minutes to 1 hour to get home every day. So I do hope you enjoy these contents. If you do, don't forget to subscribe and like to support the channel, of course. I do also realize whenever I edit these sort of videos on my talking, I do a lot of shutter or or hesitation, things like that. That's me when I'm thinking, as I do not have a transcript to work on, things like that. I do apologize for those small little hesitations, small little gap, break, whatever you want to call it. And thanks for watching to this end of this video. That's I can't believe you're still not closing this video. Anyway, I'll see you next video. Thank you very much.